we take an important step in our social apostolate to work with them and to bring the kingdom of God amidst them. Today, in this celebration, let us celebrate with them their day and try to bring more awareness into our Claretian work with the indigenous people. With these words, we shall begin the program, and with the prayer song, let us initiate it.
Trabajando en la zona nororiente de Guatemala. Un saludo fraterno y cordial a todos y todas. Yo soy Abel Carvajal, misionero claretiano. Me encuentro indígenas de origen maya Ekchi.
Can you hear the English translation? Yes. So I'm just saying that we are hearing Abel Carvajal, who's a Claretian missionary, and he's working in the northeast zone of Guatemala with indigenous communities of the Maya Ichi origin. And we're going to listen to one of the prayers of this in a native language. Can you hear the English translation? We're still waiting for the audio to.
Already going on.
Your audio is mute.
Okay, the audio is mute. I want to share the song. Please hold on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to play the song now. It is coming full screen. I'm finding difficult to get the okay. Yes, here we go. Are you able to see the song?
Yes.
Are you hearing the video also?
Yes.
Okay. So once again, I welcome all of you, those who have joined recently. This is the celebration of International Indigenous Peoples Day. The Solidarity and Mission team in the general level as well as in the provincial levels are happy to organize this session and welcome you all in this international virtual conference. We shall listen to the blessings of Reverend Father Matthew Vatamatum, the Superior General of the congregation, who is also present with us, and he will be addressing us. Yes, Father, you have the floor.
Thank you, Winner. First of all, congratulations to the SOMI team for organizing this international meeting. And I rejoice and join with you. So let us celebrate meaningfully this International Day, which invites our attention to our brothers and sisters from the various indigenous groups from one end of the planet to the other. In this COVID time, all of us are going through a difficult time, the whole planet. Initially, it was China, then Italy, and then USA, Spain. And now it is going to the peripheries, we can say, to more the other countries in America and Africa and Asia. And our attention is not so much on our own security, but to our brothers and sisters who are affected. And I appreciate all the provinces for giving attention to that. It will be a shame, as I once wrote, that people die of hunger than of COVID. And we renew our commitment. We have opted this attention to the indigenous as one of the focus point of our SOMI's commitment. This does not come from a mere fashion and fad or an ideology, but our own experience of God. I just want to highlight that aspect. For us Claretians, in the experience of our founder, St. Anthony Mary Claret, our experience of God as the Father makes big difference in the way we see our brothers and sisters. So then the way we see the image of God in everyone, and that makes us to be committed to especially those who may be for various reasons historically and otherwise marginalized. And their pain is our pain because they are our own brothers and sisters. Any discrimination comes from a heart which is not tuned to God, the Father. And any discrimination of thinking that we are better or there is superiority or inferiority comes from a non-Christian attitude. So this is why when we can say that prayer which we repeat, our Father who art in heaven, then we need to see our brothers and sisters as our own brothers and sisters, children of the same Father. So we shall continue this commitment in the spirit of our founder, who in Cuba was particularly attentive to the marginalized. And if he were to be in any of these countries where there are indigenous people, he would have been with them. And we, the sons of Claret, in our time, we will stand with those with whom he would have stood in his time. So I wish you all a beautiful celebration, a celebration that will strengthen and support our commitment to the least of our brothers and sisters, among whom we share the same history in this in the same planet. God bless you all. Thank you very much. We renew our commitment through this celebration.
Thank you very much, Father. It was a very encouraging message for all of us, especially those missionaries who are working with the indigenous people in the ground. We are also grateful to the people who produced the video in the beginning to experience a different way of looking at God and reality. So with the message of Father Matthew giving us a very clear direction that we take indigenous people's work, the work that we do with indigenous people, that we go forward with a clarity of vision and a commitment that is renewed in the line of Saint Anthony Mary Claret as he was working in Cuba. Now let's come into the program. We are going to begin the program, and it will be the moderator, Mr. Fernando Guzman, who will be guiding us and leading us during this session. And we are going to introduce him, and then he will be taking the program forward. Mr. Fernando Guzman was born in Bahia Blanca, Argentina, and now he lives with his family in Buenos Aires in Argentina. He is a layman, a Claretian associate, and he was a Claretian volunteer before, and now he works full-time with the Claretians. He has a degree in social work with specialization in international cooperation. And from 2001 onwards, he's working with the Claretians. He also spent 3 years in Patagonia at the service of Mapuche communities. And then he joined the JPIC team of Argentina and Uruguay. And then in 2007, he moved to the provincial procure office from where he's working now also. 2012, he became the responsible person for the projects of his province. And 2018, he became the coordinator of Solidarity and Mission, the Claretian Missionaries of America. Now 2020, he is also part of the team of consultants who give advice to the General Mission Procure. He collaborates with many other publications, and he has got a strong relationship with the indigenous communities and those issues connected with justice and peace. So with this small introduction, I welcome Mr. Fernando Guzman and now hand him over the stage. Yes, it is now your time. You can proceed, Mr. Fernando Guzman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Father. Welcome to everyone. Good afternoon, good night, good morning. We're going to share the stories of indigenous people that are with us today, all around the planet. We're beginning first to representing the Philippines, who's coming from the tribe Tagacaulo, and she's coming from a peripheral neighborhood, Sarangani. We're going to listen to Rebecca. She's 21 years old. She's the second of 8 siblings, and she's studying biological sciences. She's a scholar of the Claretian. And she's from a tribe that is called the Sarangani, which means the land, essentially, and was created. The Claretian are working with this tribe since 2010. The tribe Tagacaulo is in the south of the region and close to some rivers at the bottom of some mountains in the Philippines, down the Rio Malita. Tagacaulo tribe is an autochtone language, uses an autochtone language, and related to ancestral tribes. It means the living of the one who lives close to the river. They're living in a very diverse nature with rivers, lands, trees, countrysides, mountains, very high level plateaus, and also close to the sea. They're living from the agriculture, fishing, and some mercantile works. It's a tribal group in the south. It means the opposite. It also means the opposite tribe in the south of Cochabamba in the Philippines, as you can see on the picture. And they were usually cultivating oats. Today, the Coronada city is one of the closest to the tribe. After Philippines, we're going to listen to some indigenous people in Kenya, in Africa. So we're going to listen to the tribe Isiolo in Kenya, so it is based in Kenya. It is a semi-arid land. And it consists of the Boran and Turukam tribes, who are considered indigenous people. Both tribes are pastoralists, so keeping camels, donkeys, cattle, goats, and sheep. This region is a national park called Buffalo Springs. And then lastly, we're going to listen to some indigenous people calling us from Guatemala and Colombia. The situation there in Colombia is worsening because of the systematic killings of social leaders, women and men. In the Choco department and Ituanga are with us today. The Claretian mission in Choco accompany the people since 1971. And that's 10 years that we're accompanying people in Ituango. They know a very, very good, very great poverty in this region. And then in Guatemala, the Claretian are also very present with many indigenous people. They help the revendications, the fights for life. Now that we have presented the people and their lands, we would like to share that today we're going to speak also. We're going to organize ourselves in three thematics. The first one, we're going to study the general situation of indigenous people, then their situation facing the pandemic and the COVID-19, and thirdly, we're going to study the Claretian ministry and the Claretian work with indigenous people. Every speaker will have 5 minutes to share its story. After the presentations, we will we will share we will listen to the comments of Father Daniel, Communication Secretary of the Committee of the UN for Indigenous People. And then we can have just questions and answers that you can actually write in the chat box. Meanwhile, the presentations. So we're beginning right now with the first topic, which is general situation of Indigenous people. And we're welcoming from the Philippines, Rebecca Tua. So she's part of the Taga-Kaulo tribe. She's 21 years old.
The Talangas is a remote mountain
She's the
village
second
of the municipality
of
of
8 siblings.
Alabel, province of Sarangani. It is home to the Lumads or indigenous people, particularly the Blaan and the Taga-Kaulo tribes. It is subdivided into 29 zones called sitios or purok in the vernacular. It's separated by a mountainous terrain and rivers crisscrossing the areas. The barangay center has an elevation of approximately 897 meters or 2,942 feet above sea level. Travel is very risky and difficult through twisty mountain roads, ridges and cliffs. One needs to cross rivers 18 times before reaching the village center. It takes 2 to 3 hours to travel by a motorcycle from the Alabel town center to the Talangas on a sunny day. On a rainy days, however, the travel is very grueling, since floods are expected and roads are muddy and slippery and many times impassable to vehicles. Due to its topography, the Talangas can be considered as a geographically isolated and deprived area. Access to basic social services is very difficult, particularly health services. Due to the distance of our houses to the hospitals, the Turin community, the rugged and craggy road, health problems remain to be a problem. There were instances in the past that a sick person expired on the road while being carried on a makeshift stretcher. With our difficulty to access basic social services such as health services, you can just imagine how much fear, insecurity, and uncertainty COVID-19 pandemic brought upon us. With this pandemic, as face-to-face classes are highly discouraged, the education department of our government is planning on doing new modalities of teaching and learning, and they plan to employ blended, modular, and online classes. The problem with this is that many of our communities do not have the necessary infrastructures to accommodate these methods. No electricity, nor very limited network coverage, no mobile electronic devices. Even if the teachers would opt for the modular home study approach, what kind of learning can be expected from students who have poor reading and comprehension skills and whose parents are themselves unable to read and write, plus the fact that the houses of the learners are scattered all over the place and are far away from each other. Another matter that this pandemic has made obvious is another perennial issue that is present in our community, that is early marriage. Some said that in this present times, uncertain times, only marriage is certain. Boys and girls are getting married at a very young age. Some girls have just recently had their menstruation and now are going to get married. With our difficulty to access basic health services, the young mother's health and her baby could possibly be at a great risk of malnutrition and other pregnancy and child-giving related risk. The young couple's capacity to build a family and handle family-related stresses and problems are still questionable. Many of them stop schooling. This is more disadvantageous to girls than to the boys. When young girls get married and only have reached a not very high level of education, most often than not, they are bound to just stay at home, to do the household chores, and to take care of the family. Often the household chores that these women, and in many instances the children as well, do takes as much energy as the heaviest agricultural task done by men, like fetching gallons of water from a bit distant source. With the difference that carrying water and other household chores is done every single day. The list of disadvantages to women in a situation of early marriage can go on. Moreover, how can a boy whose muscles are not yet fully developed cope with the challenges and difficulties of earning a living for the family when it has been a very strenuous for our fathers to do farm works and transport their harvest from the farm to the market due to the distance and road quality? Not to mention the seasonal dry spells and drought and heavy rains, which could disrupt farming cycle and consequently of one's earning. Dry spells, droughts, heavy rains, flood, and other things related to climate change become more upsetting and disruptive, especially with the prevailing overcutting of trees done in the name of progress, such as to build a house for a new young couple. You probably were able to discern some of the many challenges that we're facing as a people even before. This COVID-19 pandemic, though, has highlighted and underlined many of them and itself poses as an aggravating force to our already tough lives, both mentally and actually. This is but a teaser for the story of our lives. Our story may also be similar to your story. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, for your story and your very strong words.
Yeah.
We're now remembering that we have the option to translate from English to Spanish and from Spanish to English. So just choose your language and close your microphones, please. So now we're moving from the Philippines to Africa with an intervention of our next speaker, Malan Ome. He's a student at the Kenya University of Management. And he's pursuing a diploma in project management. He already has a diploma in information technology, and he has worked with religious institutions in the Isiolo region in Limeraba in various programs targeting youth as a facilitator and as a trainer. Malan also worked with the network of pastoralist women in Kenya, Pastoralist Women Empowerment Network, Peace Link, Pastoralist Women for Education and Health, among other NGOs. Malan is currently working in a community-based initiative or organization called the Queen of Peace Foundation, giving Indigenous women an opportunity and a platform to address issues. Welcome, Malan.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about the introduction, IP COVID resilience. While the African Charter recognizes the people's right, it does not address the IP as a special category of people who need certain targeted protection measures. Kenya does not have specific legislation to protect Indigenous peoples. This explains why in 2009, the Ongek Indigenous community in Kenya took a case against the government of Kenya to the African Court on Human and People's Rights, on the rights to be evicted from the forest, which they regarded more than an ecological conservancy, but as their natural home. I'll talk of the centrality and problem of land. The land question lies at the foundation of any discussion on indigenous people. This is because their economic, social, and spiritual life are heavily dependent on land and nature. For the Turkana IP, livestock is intricately intertwined with their land, which is owned as a community and on individual basis. However, the planning, division, and development of the IP land is done without regarding the principles of free, prior, and informed consent. This has led to forceful eviction of IP in some parts of Kenya and Isiolo in particular. To defend their land, their main defensive mechanism is active and armed resistance, which sometimes places the IP in direct conflict with the more powerful state security agencies. On security and conflict, pastoralist communities are usually prone to cattle rustling and conflicts. When this happens, there is often displacement of children, women, and the elderly who are forced into the temporary camps. We are grateful that this year it has not happened, and a lot of peace meetings are being done among the members of various communities to try to avoid this conflict at all costs in this challenging time. Related to this is the rapid increase of small arms among the IPs for defensive and offensive purposes. There are, however, many intra-IP peace meetings to ensure that peace prevails. On accessibility to quality housing, the Turkana shelters are made of mud and sticks called the manyata. Being nomadic pastoralists, they are temporary structures which expose them to elements and organisms. Having been historically marginalized, the devolved government cannot allocate any funds for quality housing since they have many other pressing issues to attend to. Further, still the recent affordable housing policies have been designed for the urban areas, hence IP are systematically discriminated against. On food security and nutrition, research shows that among IP, over 40% of children between 6 to 59 months old are chronically undernourished, and 18.6% are severely wasted. Poor nutrition, poor feeding is due to harsh environmental and poor policies. In school days, government supplies foodstuff, especially for lunch. But since the schools have been closed due to COVID-19, children are in danger of hunger and malnutrition since some families cannot afford food due to poverty. On water and sanitation, the IP communities suffer acute water shortage. Water points available dry up or reduce in volume due to long droughts. Majority of the population do not have access to safe water for drinking. The average distance covered to fetch water is 15 to 30 kilometers. However, there are endeavors to set up solar-powered water pumping facilities to help in this shortage of water in the area. In addition to that, over 60% of the IP do not have access to toilet facilities. This, coupled with unsafe drinking water, exposes the local communities to diseases. Talking of health facility and services, there are very few facilities which are also very poorly equipped. The facilities are either understaffed or the services provided are inadequate, so community members have to travel far distances to access needed health services. Over 70% of rural populations have limited access to health facilities. The health workers who work in some of these facilities reside far from the facility due to lack of residents near the health facility, leading to poor services. Delivery are being conducted in the villages with all its risk, and reports have shown increased rate of maternal mortality due to this. There is low turn-up for vaccination. Herbal treatment is still the preferred medication here, so seldom do the IP go to the dispensary for treatment. On revenue allocation formula, IP territories are always sparsely populated but very fast in terms of area coverage. as opposed to the earlier formula for allocation of resources, which used both land mass and population to calculate budgetary allocation. There is a push by most populated ethnic communities to use population as the only criteria of allocation of budgetary funds. This will deprive the IP its general budgetary allocation, considering that they are few and coming from backgrounds of historical marginalization. This kind of marginalization has constantly led to poor, under or no development in these areas, resulting into poor social services such as in education, roads, and health. This explains why there is high literacy level, poor accessibility, unemployment, high poverty level, and lack of basic needs among the IP. Lack of value addition in the beef industry. The IP, who are pastoralists, are major stakeholders in beef production for both internal and external markets. Yet they lack skills that would have added value and given them a chance to exploit new opportunities in the beef market. The situation is aggravated when livestock keeping is perceived just as an exotic cultural practice rather than a profitable economic venture that could help them gain more funds to trigger positive transformation of other sectors of their lives, including education, health, and housing. Youthful population of IP. A dilemma that is experienced by the youths of IP is a feeling of being torn between two cultures, that is, fidelity to indigenous culture and powerful pull towards the modern culture. This has led to some level of confused identity. On tourism, the IP are always perceived as instruments for tourist attraction, but they have never qualitatively benefited from this industry. On energy source and the climate change, the primary source of energy among the IP is firewood and charcoal, with over 90% of households relying on
Madam,
firewood.
can you please finish quickly, please?
I'm winding up. Only 2 points to finalize. Thank you. Household. Okay. The primary source of energy among the IP is firewood and charcoal, with over 90% of households relying on firewood as the primary source of power. Very few households, less than 7%, are connected with electricity. Use of charcoal and firewood has led to widespread case of respiratory tract diseases due to constant inhalation of the smoke. Charcoal burning and firewood has also led to environmental degradation, resulting into gradual climate change. No wonder these places is constantly experiencing reduction in rainfall every year and every irregular rainfall. Thank you so very much. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madeleine. To allow us to get closer to the reality of indigenous people in Africa. We're very sorry that we had to interrupt you and ask you to be shorter. It is that we have a lot of people who have still to speak. Please don't hesitate to write your questions in the chat. So, and remember that we have 2 translators, one in Spanish, one in English. Cecile, myself, is trying to translate from Spanish to English, and Alex is trying to translate from English to Spanish. Thank you very much. Now we're crossing the ocean, and we're reaching Colombia, and welcoming Luis Evelis Andrade Casama. He is a former Claretian priest, former chief counselor of the National Indigenous Organization of Colombia called the ONIC. He is the former president of the Fund of the Development of Indigenous People of Latin America and the Caribbean, the FILAC, and also former senator of the Republic of Colombia. We're very happy to welcome you, Luis, and you can now speak. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. To all the indigenous people who are today with us. And welcome to all the Claretian who are accompanying us in our process. In a very quick first presentation, I'm going to present the reality of indigenous people in Colombia. Firstly, I want to say that Colombia is a multi-ethnic and multicultural state according to the Constitution of 1991. Before that constitution, the national laws treated us as savages. Colombia counts 115 indigenous people, 65 languages recognized as official in their territories. We have 1,090,000 indigenous people in Colombia. They represent 4.4% of the national population, according to the census of the National Department of Statistics. So 33% of the national territory belongs under the legal figure of reservation of indigenous people. These regions are largely rich in biodiversity and mineral resources. We also have to say that we are in the territories of Colombia, and we have the Constitution recognized various rights, political, jurisdictional. We have our own justice, so there's many rights that are recognized by the Constitution, sorry, but they're not implemented. Yeah, so as I said, like 33% of the national territory belongs to a legal figure of reservation to indigenous people. And we're facing huge issues regarding climate change, security, healthcare. So in Colombia, I would like to also say that at the local scale, many local organizations, access to land, healthcare, and we're like, regarding all these issues, we're accompanied in a great way by the Claretian organizations. So what are the national indigenous organizations that we have in Colombia? I think of 5 important. So we have the National Indigenous Organization of Colombia, the Organization of Indigenous People of the Colombian Amazon, the Indigenous Authorities of Colombia, the Tairona Indigenous Confederation of the Sierra Nevada, Santa Marta, and they're all fighting for the same causes. And they have a conscience of existing, and they have a mobilization force. So we have spaces of dialogue and consultation of indigenous people in Colombia. We have tables and commissions that allow us to gather and to exchange and share our issues. So we have currently in Colombia several issues. 33 people are at risk of physical and cultural extermination, according to the Constitutional Court's latest decision. We also know about the violation of human rights with 249 assassinations of leaders since the signing of the peace accords in 2016. And only this year, 2020, we know more than 40 killings, 14 during the pandemic. We also know about forced displacement and confinement in various regions of the country. Indigenous people in Colombia are affected by high poverty, with 80% of unsatisfied basic needs and a high rate of unemployment. So the legislation is quite high, but it is not implemented. This is this issue. We have huge rights written, but they're not implemented. So we're suffering malnutrition, hunger, and we're threatened by armed groups. As you know, the Colombian state does not have access to its territories. So the armed conflicts ended after the peace agreed in 2016, but we're still facing some issues in terms of insecurity. So we have some demands. First of all, the demands in terms of human rights and collective rights, life, organization, education, access to land, health, economy, own development, prior consultation, very important. We want to improve the well-being indicators to overcome social and economic gaps due to discrimination. And we want to fight institutional and systematic racism. We want the consolidation of peace with guarantees of truth, justice, reparation, and non-repetition. We want the strengthening of governance and justice in the territories and the implementation of our rights. The pandemic is a reality for all of us, and especially for Indigenous people. What we're seeing is that the state is not complying with its obligations. Many of the Indigenous people don't have access to water, to infrastructure to connectivity, internet, security. So it's a reality, and the pandemic has worsening the situation. And there's no differential focus, and there's no particularity by the states in dealing with our situation. So we're working a lot to overcome the issues. We believe that the Indigenous people we believe that the Indigenous people would need to have better allies, more visibility, to take into account our differences and help us ask to the state implementation. This is what I can say about the reality of Indigenous people here. We're fighting, but in a very, very difficult situation. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Louise. Thank you for sharing your reality in Colombia. Thank you, Amalan. Thank you to Rebecca. And now we're ending the first chapter of our panel about the general situation of Indigenous people in the world. And now we're beginning our second chapter with special invitees about COVID. So we have the Father Daniel. So the Father Daniel is an oblate of Mary Immaculate since 1971. He's Canadian but works in Peru. The Father Daniel is, yes, he worked in Peru since 1978 until his appointment to the Oblate's General Administration. Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation in April 27. Today, he represents the Oblate Congregation and Viva organization, recognized as an NGO by the United Nations. Aside from this NGO Committee on the Rights of Indigenous People, Father Daniel follows the work of the Commissions on Social Development, including the Subcommittee of the Eradication of Poverty. He's also a member of the NGO Committees on Sustainable Development and Migration. He's an active member of the NGO Committee on Financing for Development, which he led as its chairman for a few years. During his 30 years in Peru, Father Daniel served as a pastor of several parishes in the Diocese of Caraballo in Lima and in the High Court. He also worked on a variety of justice issues, from assisting victims of terrorism to investigating mass massacres and helping to bring perpetrators to justice, fighting impunity. He also studied law in the Pontificia Universidad Católica of Peru. And for several years, he was a member as well as the chairman of the Latin American OMI, a Commission of Justice, Peace, and Integrity. Welcome, Padre Daniel. Father Daniel, you have 2 minutes to share your comments on the situation.
I will speak in English to make a difference. Thank you very much for the introduction. And I am very, very honored to be able to accompany you today to learn from all of you. I certainly am happy to be here with you, and I will wait until the end to comment more on what each one has said. I certainly thank Father General for having been here to present and to welcome everyone. I thank the moderators, and I certainly very much appreciate all that Rebecca and Malan and Luis have had to share with us. I will at the end bring up some of the points that you have made, which I think are very, very important. And I turn it back to the moderator for us to continue.
Thank you very much, Father Daniel. So we're now giving, we're hearing your comments at the end. So now we're moving on to the second chapter. Please don't forget, you can just drop your questions in the chat. And don't forget to close your microphones. So second topic of our meeting today is on the resilience of Indigenous people and their organizations during the pandemic. So we're going back to the Philippines with a short presentation of our next speaker, Magdalene Tuwa. So from the Philippines, she's from the Blan tribe on her mother's side and to the Tagakalo tribe on her father's side. She's 20 years old and she's the eldest among 5 siblings. She's beginning her second year in a bachelor in secondary education in biological science. She's also a scholar of the Claretian of the Sarangani mission. Welcome. Welcome, Magdalene.
Thank you. Hibutang dikas deu. As I ponder on the word resilience, or our toughness, or our capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, and on what makes us resilient, I was drawn back to many of our cultural practices and traditions. This is, I think, what makes us resilient, that we have something to go back to and to hold on to. One of these is our indigenous way of healing. We believe that nature provides medicines and remedies for some diseases, but at the same time, nature also has some toxic and poisonous things and creatures. If we keep them where they are at, then we can be sure that there's medicine available when one gets sick, or that by keeping oneself away from anything poisonous makes someone out of danger. We also have a kind of healing that involves some rituals and offerings which many, especially the elderlies, believe that treat any sickness. Having this kind of belief that even if I get sick, I know I can get medicine from nature, or there's this ritual that I could undergo to be healed. Then I will have the courage to go on with what I am doing because I know I have a fallback. Even if our healing practices is not that extensive. The Blaan term for healing is gule, which is related to the term which means to go back home or to restore to its original state. Healing then can be ensured when we put back or keep the things the way they are. Related to this also is the belief on beings, which may reside on water, rocks, trees, and forests, which we do not see but definitely exist and demands of us reverence. If we disturb them by doing something unpleasant to their dwellings, then harm could come to us or to our family. But if we let them be, then everything goes on smoothly. This belief hinders anyone to not indiscriminately destroy trees, rivers, rock, etc. Then life goes on smoothly. Consequently, this ensures sustainability of the environment. Hence, as this point, I would dare to say that sustainability brings out resiliency. At the present age, this belief has slowly been replaced with the idea of God who made the human beings in his image and likeness, and that we are given stewardship of all his creation. Another thing that comes to my mind when I reflect on what makes us resilient is our way of life. Being people of the mountains, we are used to walking long distances and mindful of the horrible terrain and the scorching heat of the sun, of the cold wind and rain. There are times that we need to cross flooded rivers just to arrive home. We are used to plant on a slope of the hill and mountain. Our men could carry more than 70 kilos of agricultural products and bring them to the buyers barefooted for several kilometers up and down the mountain and sometimes along the edge of the cliff. In short, we are used to hardship and heavy burdens. Our daily experiences teach us how to balance. It teaches us to be grounded but our minds on the destination. Our mind and I myself and many more of the friends and classmates experienced walking to school from our home for more or less 2 hours going there and a couple of hours in coming back every single school day. Our way of life and everyday experiences makes us strong and sturdy. We don't easily give up. We sometimes stumble and fall. Sometimes we fear we are running out of breath, but we always get back up. Sometimes we pause for a while, but then we continue and push on. Education also, I believe, has enriched our resilience. With education, or at least being able to read and write, there are many windows of opportunities that are open for us to choose from. With education, we become bolder to make our voices louder, our shaky legs become stable, to stand up for ourselves, for our community, and for all that is dear to us, and our arms more robust to lift up our brothers and sisters who are stuck in the dirt and insecurity. All this and many more makes us resilient. Bong salamat.
Thank you very much. And, Magdalene, thank you very much for your words, your testimony, your voice, your powerful voice from the Philippines. Thank you very much. So now we're moving on that topic, and we're moving to Africa, to Kenya. And in a short presentation, we're going to listen to Gabriela Naro Esokon. So she's from the Nganimara, the Wonglila village, Isiolo, Kenya. She's currently working with the Ewaso Niaro North Development Authority as a public service intern. She pursued degree in history and international relations in the University of Egerton. She's a youth leader and a role model in her village. She also worked as a volunteer in Isiolo Peace Link organization during 2 years to end conflicts between communities and advocate for peace. Welcome, Gabriela. You can speak.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take the topic 2 on COVID-19 and IP resilience among the IP of Isiolo. COVID-19 has had a devastating impact in Kenya in general and to the vulnerable community in particular. In the hierarchy of vulnerability, the IP communities lie at the lowest point since they have hardly managed to rise and recover from the long period of historical socio-economic marginalization. Being largely a dependent community in terms of essential services, the government prescribed restriction to curb the spread of the pandemic exposed in the IP to serious impacts. In food and nutrition, many indigenous communities and especially the Turkana are already suffering from food insecurity and malnutrition. By March 2020, when the first case of COVID-19 was reported, this case was worsened by the presence of locusts, which threatened the vegetation, which is in the only source of food for our livestock. As a coping mechanism, the government had tried to provide some foodstuffs which was hardly sufficient for the population. Many IP had to skip some meals which further exposed them to immunity deficiency conditions. Many IP opted to refocus on local traditional foods, which though scarce, are known for their herbal and medicinal values. Hence, it helped in boosting the immune system, however minimal. Next, on information awareness and sensitization, the government tried to keep the people informed on the danger of corona. Most of the messages were communicated in English and Kiswahili language that the local people could not understand very well due to the situation of very low literacy level among the IP communities. This contributed to some level of lack of seriousness in believing the existence of and the danger posed by COVID-19. To boost our capacity, next point, to boost our capacity to face the challenge of information, some of the educated IP communicated this message in local languages. Given that most educated people are also young, their message to the older generation lacked the credibility and urgency required during this pandemic period. The information should flow from the elders to the young and not the other way around according to social setup. Next, on health services, given that the health facilities in IP regions were already poor, the local people who had associated health facilities with the disease avoided the health centers altogether. This means that they were more susceptible to infectious disease, thus become even more vulnerable to coronavirus. Related to this is the fact that given that the IP rarely go for medical checkups, their medical history or probable underlying health problems are unknown and undocumented. They lived in constant fear, not knowing who is more vulnerable. Demographic challenges of special concern are the vulnerable indigenous elders. With limited access to both food and access to health care, their cases became more fragile. The young IP who were forced to go to the local urban center in search of income and food are exposed to COVID-19 than if they were in their rural places. This may they only help the young also potential spreaders of the virus. The youth from towns are requested not to go back to their rural areas so as not to endanger life of the early elders. Natural isolation, a blessing in disguise. The fact that indigenous people live in areas that are very far from major urban centers has double effect. One, it is disadvantageous because of lack of essential services due to curfew, but it also makes the IP zones a lot safer as there is minimal contact with the major urban centers, which are recording high cases of COVID-19. Hygiene and preventive measures, lack of access to essential services, sanitation, and other key preventing measures such as clean water, soap, disinfectant also made the IP very exposed. As resilience measures, most of them had improved plastic water containers for water. Although some of these masks have questionable quality and effectivity. Communitarian lifestyle. The pronouncement of partial lockdowns and restriction on movement also meant that the IP could not move much. Yet the houses are very small and they live in large communities. Messages of stay at home was not a guarantee for safety, but a cause of worry because communitary life of the IP within their small traditional houses compromise
Gabriela,
the
you have a few minutes, second more. Gabriel, thank you very much for ending quick.
The Ministry of the Health. We have conflict, unemployment, and energy source. The conflict and insecurity due to cattle rustling between IP have always resulted into internal displacement. Loss of jobs due to COVID has led to more poverty. Poor energy source still encourages the use of firewood, which leads to respiratory tract disease, making the families of IP more prone to COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Sorry for interrupting. Thank you so much for your words. Very powerful words. Thank you so much. Now we're moving to Colombia for a short presentation. De Luz Milena Rincon. She belongs to the Sicuani Tumpillo Kuwai Reservation in the Vichada Spring Township in Colombia. She's an indigenous leader of the Sicuani ethnic group. She's 30 years old, mother of 3 children, and head of household. She's part of the Tomiokuwe Indigenous group. She's part of this committee, and she leads processes of elaboration of handicraft as a form of cultural rescue. She's also fighting for the empowerment of Indigenous women in her region. Welcome, Luz Milena. Well, good morning. My name is Milena, and thank you for the invitation. In Colombia, every indigenous or ethnic people responds to the pandemic according to their own culture, related more to Mother Nature, strengthening their spirituality, traditional medicine, and traditional doctors. The pandemic made us an object of economic opportunity by the government. We are more marginalized, more forgotten by the national government, without access to health, education, or land. We're forgotten by the Colombian government. Access to land, we don't have any access to these rights, and we are displaced by violence, provoked by armed groups, as the Colombian state doesn't have access to all the territories of the country. There's no inclusive policy. So we cannot build farms, we cannot settle, We don't have access to the territories, and the laws of the municipalities are against us. They harm us. We don't have access to national health, nor to the beneficiaries of public health. We cannot sell our goods. We cannot earn money because the owners of the lands are excluding us, are creating norms that are against our way of life. To earn money, for example, we don't have much possibilities in terms of education. We don't have money then to pay for school or universities, and we have denied our rights to access to education. We don't have internet. We don't have money to buy for the essential needs, and to ensure this good education for our youth. And there's many of us that do not speak or write well. They don't know how to write, and this is a huge issue for the education of our younger ones. And on the other hand, the Indigenous Guard control the territory to help us protect our lives and to watch the rivers for that the children and the older ones do not be contaminated by new people entering our territories. So we're mainly using rituals with medicinal plants to help those who are sick. This is our way of taking care of each other. Thank you very much to the Claretian Corporation for your help, especially to someone called Noima Perez Bello, who help us organize our resistance for our territories. So we are from the Sikwani Tompoyo Kuwai, and we are victim of violence, many violence. One ally that is helping us a lot. It is a Claretian organization because we are in a very small territory. Thank you very much to all. Thank you very much, Milena. Thank you very much, Milena, for your intervention. So we're now moving to our new topic, new chapter. So after ending this chapter on the resilience in front of the pandemic, thank you very much for listening, and thank you for shutting down your audios. Thank you very much. So we're moving now to our last and third topic, which has to do with the presence of the Claretian organization within the indigenous people. So we're beginning with the Philippines, going back to the Philippines with a very short presentation from our brother Joseph Roy Villarreal. He's a missionary, Claretian missionary. He worked with different indigenous people and various Claretian missions. He worked with the Samabahao from 2010 to 2013. He has been assigned to manage the Claret Samal Foundation in Malusu, Basilan, sorry. He lived among the Yakans and the Christian settlers in Tuma, Hubong, Sismis, Basilian, being the director and principal of Claret School from 2013 to 2017. He journeyed with the Blan and Taga-Kalo tribes in Datal Agas from 2017 to today. Welcome, Brother Joseph.
Thank you so much, and good day to all. The Indigenous Peoples Mission Sarangani in the Talangas Mission was born out of the Claretians of the Philippines' commitment to give a concrete expression in time and space to our prophetic presence on the front lines of the mission, the human, geographical, social, and cultural peripheries. We consider it a priority to work with and accompany the poorest, the most vulnerable and marginalized sectors, one of which is the indigenous peoples and their communities. Since April 24, 2013 up to the present, the Claretians in Batangas integrated into the life of the community of the Blaan and Tagakaulo as they journey towards achieving self-determination, sustainable development, and the cultivation of their culture and indigenous spirituality. Our overall goal is to elevate the indigenous peoples in the Batangas. Elevate also is an acronym of how we are going to attain this goal. E, equip, L, lead, E, empower, V, varied, A, appropriate, and T, tradition and culture sensitive evangelization. We understand evangelization according to how the church defines it as the bringing of the good news into all the strata of humanity, and through its influence, transforming humanity from within and making it new, while taking into account the unceasing interplay of the gospel and of man's concrete life, both personal and social. Specifically, we want to elevate the entire community of the Tagakaulo and Blaan of the Batangas, from ignorance to awareness, from subjection to self-determination, from poverty to empowerment, and from insecurity to resiliency. We are well aware that the protagonists here are not us, but they themselves. Our role mainly is accompaniment and guidance, while at the same time amplifying their voices when need be, and bringing to the fore the issues relevant to their progress or downfall. Hence, central to this project is education and formation. Confucius once said, "If your plan is for 1 year, plant rice. If your plan is for 10 years, plant trees. But if your plan is for 100 years, educate children." Indeed, education is critical to escape chronic poverty and to prevent the transmission of poverty between generations. According to UNESCO, education is a core lever for ending poverty in all forms. The UNESCO roadmap for implementing the Global Action Program on Education for Sustainable Development asserts that to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and sustainable, all individuals and societies must be equipped and empowered by knowledge, skills, and values, as well as be instilled with heightened awareness to drive such change. This is where education plays a critical role. The ancient declaration also towards inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning for all reaffirms that education is essential for peace, tolerance, human fulfillment, and sustainable development. And it is a key to achieving full employment and poverty eradication. Hence, our flagship activity is a holistic engaging and rearing of the youth. We built a domicile both in the mountain for the high school students and in the municipality for the college students, who we are supporting financially for their education and who we provide with a holistic human formation. We see that Solving the problems and overcoming challenges in the society requires not just the commitment and ingenuity of current politicians and decision makers, but the engagement and preparation of the next generation. The young population should be given the proper guidance and support in terms of their educational, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, and social well-being in order for them to properly assume the roles as productive members of their community. An empowered youth leads to an empowered community. On top of our pastoral and ministerial activities, we also venture into some social projects such as animal dispersal project to address the challenge of transporting products from the farms to market. We also have projects for women to support them in their indigenous weaving and bead and basket making industry, for the female household members to even out gender disparity in livelihood. We also have installation of communal water system, especially for the far-flung communities which have difficulty to access clean potable water. We also did basic functional literacy classes for the elderly and out of the school youth and children. We have conducted community-based disaster risk reduction and management, basic first aid and emergency response skills training. Since access to health services and facilities is very strenuous, primarily due to distance, we do medical missions every year and have tried to initiate a community-based health program. We embark upon doing something on environmental and watershed area protection and management.
Brother Joseph, sorry.
Finally, we are doing.
Can you go quicker and finish soon? Thank you very
Yes,
much.
finally, we are doing some advocacy activities to ascertain that the rights of the indigenous peoples be upheld and secured. Thank you very much and good day again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brother Joseph, and sorry for interrupting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your reality. Very important for your words. Strong words. Now we're moving to Kenya, and we're listening to Kenya, and with the Father John Obonyo, very important person, Claretian missionary from Uganda working in Kenya. Thank you very much. You have 5 minutes. But before that, I would like to present you quickly. You're Claretian, so missionary, and you're working in Kenya among the pastoralists in Isiolo. You work as an assistant parish priest in Gemara, Catholic mission in Isiolo Vicariate. You're also a youth coordinator in the delegation of St. Charles, Luanga, East Africa. Welcome, Father John. Father John, your microphone is off. Could you activate it, please? We cannot hear you.
Thank
yes,
you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for having given me a chance and for having gotten ready to listen to me. I would say that our Claretian approach in this place when we came many years back has been an inculturated approach in all aspects of our dealings with the people around here. And we have emphasized on qualitative approach too, that we shall not do anything half-heartedly, but emphasizing on the quality of our services around here. And our approach has been holistic in nature, that we would like to touch all aspects of the IP lives. Our approach too has been collaborative, that we would like to work together with the people whom we have found, with the authorities available, be it civil, political, or religious. We would like our approach also to be participatory, that we allow people to participate in our services to them. And at last, we would like our approach to be sustainable, that even after doing something among them and amidst them, that can remain even when we are not there amidst them. Therefore, it would be an ostrich game to say that these people do not have challenges that touches their core being. But amidst all these challenges, we as Claretians, we have decided to do a lot amidst them. And what we have done, we realized it turned out to be the best we could do for them, especially in this time of COVID. We did construction of nurseries and schools. And this has helped to fight ignorance amidst the people. And when ignorance goes, access to information, discussion, understanding, and sharing of ideas can be done. And we're happy that this is happening. We are working on a dispensary offering medical services to the people in need. And recently, the county government requested us if we could offer an isolation room for the people who may have problems regarding this COVID. And we have been given a hotline to connect to the main medical center, the hospital, where we could ask for ambulance and other doctors to assist us where there is need. We have constructed houses for the old, the physically challenged, and those in need. And this has been of importance to the life of these people at this time around and in the times to come. The Claretians have drilled boreholes to avail water, which is more helpful now than ever, since hygiene is being emphasized more. And we hope to do more. We have done distribution of food to improve nutrition occasionally among the people. Sometimes we have to ask parishes, the Claretian parishes who are located in town centers and in other places, to donate for us some foodstuffs, and they have been very helpful and responded to our request fully. We continue to appreciate them, and we wish for more to come from them too. With all this in mind, our last effort that I can say now is to set up, we call it an exemplary role modeling village amidst these people, just to motivate them and to tell them that we can do it differently and we can live differently. So this model village is in the making, and we hope when it comes up, it will motivate these people to begin shifting their lifestyle, their thinking, mentality, and approach to life, and begin to take up a life that they are experiencing now. But above all, we wouldn't want them to forget their culture, because they are very culturally rich, and we want these riches to be exploited to the full. And this is what we are doing amidst these people, and we hope to do more. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Father John, for Kenya. And now we're listening to our last speaker from Guatemala. Welcome, Father Manuel from Carnal. So he's from the Claretian Kweshi Mayan community, originally from El Estor Basal, and he's currently assigned to the parish El Dulce Nombre de Jesus, meaning the sweet name of Jesus, Santa Maria de Jesus, an indigenous parish, an indigenous parish Maya. Welcome, Father Manuel. Welcome, good morning to all my brothers and sisters to celebrate this day, very special day for us to vindicate, strengthen our path as a Maya people. I'm the Father Manuel Sam Kamal from the ethnic Maya Kichi from El Estor Isabel. Our work as a Claretian community in Central America, especially in Guatemala, with the people Maya Kichi, y Maya Sechipes. Our main work is to accompany the people, the Mayan people, to strengthen and keep their traditions, their ancestral traditions and values. So we have been working with other people in Guatemala, with the indigenous pastoral, to find a way to protect these communities with a plan, with a pastoral plan from the Episcopal Conference of Guatemala. We recognize as Claretian many organizations who were created, grassroots communities, and we accompany them for their fight for the protection of Mother Nature, inalienable rights for the. It's a very strong work that we're doing, that the Claretian missionaries are doing in Guatemala. Why? Why are we doing this job? Because the prevailing structure system has been destroyed and continues to be destroyed. So we have to protect and defend these people. In the region, our work has been very hard. For more than 100 communities who are trying to legalize their earth. And the first issue is access to land. We're also trying to slow down the acculturation and to protect their particularities of the communities, protect the lives of these people. Also, we have seen that it was very, very important to follow up our people and protect them. So we have been working with the Mayan people, and we have shared the sad and the greatest moments, and we have tried to strengthen their identity and their values of the cosmovision Maya, to reaffirm their Christian faith and its roots as a millennial group and community, with through three axes. First of all, we're training social leaders, women and men, in the cosmovision Maya. Secondly, we are, this is still the first point. So in the training area, we're working in the cultural field to strengthen their cultural conscience. Then second point of our action is social, in the social field, and we're working on the impact on social and political reality. We are, we don't understand, or we need to fight in a better way on the political, in the political sphere. And then on the third side, we have been working in a spiritual way, and to work and to create social leaders and community leaders with a strong spirituality. So in the 80s, in the 1980s, we have been working with men and women and to make them conscious of their fights, conscious of their culture, conscious of their land. So many of them died for to defend their land, to defend their lives and their communities. Can you please end? Thank you very much. So in terms of the spirituality, we're working to strengthen the understanding of the Father and Mother God. Thank you very much for listening. I'm finished. Thank you very much, Father Manuel. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the Claretians today with us. So right now we would like to listen to Father. The name is, I think it's Father Pedro, so we can see on the screen.
Yeah.
All. Yes.
I would like to make a short announcement that we got the message from Father General that Bishop Pedro Casildaliga passed away. He was a great champion of the rights of the indigenous people. And it is really at this moment we receiving this news has got an implication of the spirit that we carry on his challenge to work for the indigenous people in the same way as he worked for them. He was working with them and for them and trying to give them their spiritual and social and cultural life. He brought the life of Jesus to them, the strength of Jesus for them, and gave them the hope of Jesus. He has been a model for all of us. Let us continue in his footsteps to work for the indigenous people. These are some of the photos of his life in which he has spent not in the traditional way, rather in the new way. The new way is led by the Spirit and with the people. And the people were his one who gave life, his life a meaning. And he worked fully for these people, gave his life for them. As he has stopped breathing, let us all work in his direction and give him the promise that we will work in the same direction as he worked.
The winner should consult us. No?
Okay.
Thank you very much, Father. And now we are continuing with our program. And now Father Daniel is is going to share us his comments. And shortly intervention because we're a bit late. Thank you very much, Father Daniel. Father Daniel, it is Father Daniel, it is your moment to speak. If you could share your comments. Yes, could you share your comments? Thank you very much.
Am I now, I think, in English? First of all, I begin by thanking all of those who have organized this session. I too grieve and remember our dear departed bishop. I thank very much Lord Winner, Fernando especially, who has coordinated all of this session, and all of the participants from the different countries, from the Philippines, from Kenya, Colombia, Guatemala, and all the participants who I am sure are from many different countries. I'm not sure how many are on. From what I can see on my computer, it looks like we are 74. That is an amazing and very good number. I took notes of everything that was said because I consider this a new opportunity for me to learn. Of course, I have had the opportunity of being in some of the places you are from, but not all of them. I have never been to the Philippines, so that was especially important for me. I heard all of the major points of importance to Indigenous peoples all over the world. As some of you may have already participated, I'm not sure, some probably not, in the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous issues. For many years now, we have been following yearly and having the opportunity of meeting many Indigenous leaders, especially, but also some of the people from the communities. The situation obviously is complicated in many places because of the lack of basic human rights and the rights declared in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. The basic questions: poverty, land, food, health, education, culture, basic medicines that communities know of from nature itself, and all the interlinkages between individuals and Indigenous communities with the rest of society. Sadly, very often, as Father General mentioned, the rest of society often discriminates against Indigenous peoples, and that is something that sadly is true all over the world. And one of the main areas that we, as Christians, as followers of Jesus Christ, need to also take into account. I think it's important, as you mentioned, that we take into account all the things dear to Indigenous peoples from a very, very long time ago, the basic elements, water, fire, air, sun, light, etc., but also the dignity of each and every person. All of us have to work at assuring everyone's dignity, I believe. And I really congratulate the young people who participated as speakers. You are giving all of us an example of people who are strong in their culture, in their community, and doing everything you can to learn, to move ahead, and to be a support, a professional, capable support to your community, and a link to the rest of society that gives us hope. There is no doubt that there are many, many problems. Environmental, climate change, COVID-19, and all the ones that you mentioned as you were speaking. They are true, they are real, and yet what allows us to move ahead is our hope. The hope that we continue to strengthen together. I thank all of you once again. This, for me, has been a wonderful learning experience. Thank you, and let's go forward in faith, doing what we know and can do best, bringing good to our world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Daniel, for your presence here with us. Your very, very significant presence and very important. Thank you so much. We are very short in time, but we don't want to miss the questions. So there are several questions, and we're going to ask to any of the speakers to make the shortest answer, please. And only one of the speakers will answer. So we are listening. We are actually asking two questions. The first one is, do you have? Is there any in Colombia? Is there any armed groups that are helping or that are threatening the indigenous people? So if one of the speakers can answer, well, I guess it is more for the Colombian speakers. Father Manuel. Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, so in Guatemala, there are no armed groups that are fighting for the indigenous people. It doesn't exist. So we understand that there are other realities, but that there are not armed groups that are fighting for the rights of indigenous people. And now the second question, it is, does Claretian are working for the promotion of the indigenous people? So are the Claretian missionaries are working for the promotion of the indigenous culture? So we're asking one of the speakers to answer this question, please.
Yeah. For Joseph, would you like to answer? Or can you repeat the question? They may be.
Oh, so I have been unmuted. So sorry, I have just been unmuted. So could you repeat? Could you repeat the question? So yes, promoting the cultures and but maybe could you repeat please the question in Spanish, because I have been unmuted and I couldn't. So could we ask the Fernando to repeat, the moderator to repeat the question, please? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So we're if anyone wants to answer, otherwise we will be finishing. But can we ask the Spanish translator to translate to the? Oh yes, in Guatemala we are celebrating. So the network is not that good. So the Claretian are helping to the celebration of the Quechua culture and the celebration of its sacred days and rituals. The Claretians are going to the zones and are working to learn the languages, the Quechua language and the Mayan culture. So they're helping the Mayan culture to strengthen their culture, and this has been the mission of the Claretian mission. For example, in my village, several fathers learned to speak Quechua, learned all the about the culture and the values, and this is what we can see in my village and in the territory, the very strong presence of the Claretians in the indigenous cultures. Thank you very much, Father Manuel. Thank you very much. So now we're ending our meeting. We have already overcome the time. We have two minutes. We want to talk about culture. We want to end by sharing one one dancing moment from the tribes Blaan and Tagakalo from the Philippines.
Video. The please, the speaker is mute.
Sampo yugamu, sampo buro. Entawali, suta nawadi bani. Ilan kafmu tarun kastifun, kasafiblaan. Ilan kafmu lita ablaan, malam iban. Nalah labu. Afna lang tasak kastulon Ilan kastifunam olit tablaan Kamun tibali sa pelakalan Magatas tabong di kapyuban Dengan tobali sa alpin Tobali sumag nawadi bandung
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. Thank you to the Tagakalu and Blaan for their beautiful dance and to share us their beautiful dance. To end, we would like to listen to the Father Henry Ramirez, Christian Missionary Fellowship International. So please help us end the intervention. Thank you very much, Father. Oh, Padre Henry, no lo escuchamos. Sí.
Mic is mute.
We're not listening to you. Could you please activate your microphone, please? No, we cannot hear you.
Microphone
Padre.
is off.
Yes. Oh, yes, this is, yes,
Okay.
we're listening to you. Yes, can you listen to me? So I would like to thank in a very profound and emotional way to Rebecca, Magali, Malan, Gabriela, Luis Evelis, Luz Milena, Joseph, John, and Manuel. From your cultures, from your feelings, you made us, you shared a very moving experience, and we shared it in a very deep way. For some of the speakers, it was the first time that you were speaking in front of an international public, and you could share us your very strong emotions. So thank you so much for each and every one of you for doing that effort and participating. We know the difficulties of internet. Some of you had to travel hours to reach one place with internet, so thank you so much. Indigenous people still have to do a lot of effort to actually connect with the other world. And thank you so much for doing that effort, and thank you for sharing your beautiful experiences. I'm very moved by what you said, and I know that we're all moved by what you said. Thank you so much. Also to Alex and Cecile for the translation. We are trying to improve ourselves every time and trying to learn all the technological tools that we have, but we're trying to improve ourselves. So we still are missing some stuff in terms of techniques, but we're moving forward. Thank you so much also to Father Daniel for your beautiful words. You're giving us hope and energy to continue our work. Thank you so much for the congregation. Thank you so much. There are too many people that I cannot mention in that short time, but I'm thanking to all of you. I'm thanking to each and every one of you, and for all. And I know that in Colombia it's very important to mention the names, but I cannot do it. I'm so sorry, but in my heart, I'm feeling you. So we have been celebrating the memory of Indigenous people. We hope that we will have other opportunities to do that. And I'm finishing there, that we are hoping that we can build an international network of support for Indigenous people, so that our work within the United Nations can be better, more concrete, and face and support all the Indigenous people who are fragilized, violent, displacement, and not protected by the state. So my conclusion is to build this international red of solidarity for Indigenous people around the world, so that we are all one, and one is all. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. I know that already for most of us, of you, it's in the middle of the night. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much. So to end, we're finishing right now. The memory of Pedro Casal, como still living with us. Thank you so much for your words, presentations. To end, we're saying see you soon, and hopefully we'll see all of you soon. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ciao. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very good. All the presenters. Father Daniel.
Thank you for
Excellent.
attending.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Rohan, Henry, Vinay, Michael, Fernando.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Larry, nice to see you.
Welcome. Thank you. Going nightly.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Translators did a very good job. Congratulations.
Oh, Jacobachi.
Hola, César Espinosa.
Okay. Muy bien. Hello, Cesar.
Muchas gracias. I miss Guatemala.
Arvin, yes.
Where is Arvin?
Great. The sharing from Philippines youngsters, very good.
Joseph.
Yes.
Joseph, thank you, Joseph. Rebecca.
Arvin is there.
Thank you, Father Rohan, Father Henry.
Larry, thank you, thank you.
Hi.
Ma'am Lena Vergara.
Yes.
Saranga.
Eduk. Eduk.
Oh, bye-bye sama.
Eduk.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you, Eduk.
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am Lena Vergara, thank you very much for
Yes,
participating.
thank you,
Thank you,
Dad.
Arvind.
Thank you also.
Thank
Thank you also.
Arvind, now you are not in Sarangani.
Sarangani, thank you very much.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh,
Yeah, Sarangani, very nice.
Sarangani.
Very good speech, very good dancers. Very good.
Hello, Father Lord. Hello,
Rebecca.
Father Lord Winner.
Hello,
Yes,
Larry.
Arvind, thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you all too.
Joseph.
Yes.
Joseph, thank you.
Lucina,
You're
good.
welcome.
Good.
Robert,
Yes. Keep up the
Stay.
spirit.
thank you.
Stay.
There's John. John.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Brother Joseph from Sarangani, thank you very much. Thank you.
very good, very good.
Yeah, well organized program there.
Yes.
Yes.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay, fine.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank
It
you.
was a very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
thank you to the translators.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I tried my
Yeah.
best.
Can you,
I hope I
Especially
didn't do
English.
much
Peter, can you
mistake.
spotlight
Sorry.
the
Translators did a wonderful job.
interpreters?
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yes, Cecil. Thank you, Cecil. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You did
That's
a
very
good
good.
job.
Yes, congratulations.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
Yes, very
I think
good.
Alex has already left.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
she
hope.
is, Cecile is a French. She was
Yeah.
translating from Spanish to English.
Yeah.
So we may require her help for the French translation.
Yes, if you need any French, yes, I'm working in Colombia. I'm working for the peace process.
Oh, okay. That's nice to know. Okay, we will contact you.
Yes, yes, if you need French and anything in French, I can do easily. I hope I did not make too much
Yes.
mistakes. Sorry.
Good, good. Thank you
Yes,
for
it's good, very good.
Bye-bye, everyone.
And you
Bye-bye.
have to get
Bye-bye.
up early in the
Yes,
morning.
bye. Okay.
Night work,
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cecil.
Okay.
And
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Rohan.
Thank you, Cecil.
Thank you
Bye
very
bye.
much. So see you soon. Take care to all.
Yeah,
Robert.
very. Yeah, must be clear.
Robert. Yes, very good. Thank you so much, Marlon.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Robert. Nice one.
Jaime. Oh, yes.
Nice one, Robert. From where? Robert. From where? Ethiopia or Colombia? Colombia. Yeah, you look like one of my brothers. Yeah, I'm not wrong. There. Nice to meet you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
thank you.
Yeah,
Arvin,
thank you.
Arvin, now you have to get in touch with Maluso. No, you are mute. I can't hear you. Arvin, I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Oh, you have to come to that. Off.
No, I listen.
You can't really off the interpretation. Arvin, where are you?
Yes,
Sí, es que el tiempo es muy corto en estos espacios y pues también los que estaban en Filipinas ya era casi medianoche.
Unaacha uso wake pekee. Huyu ni mimi alafu kuna huyu jamaa Robert ako Colombia. Mambos?
So,
Umekuja peke yako?
okay. Yes, gone now. Robert?
Yes, please. Yes, Rohan.
So, our next
Enjoy
activity.
your weekend, people. Let me walk out.
Thank you so much for organizing.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Anyway, it came out well.
There was a lot of writing to do.
Estupendo, felicitaciones, muchas gracias, salió todo muy bonito.
I have to thank Daniel.
Daniel, yes.
Okay, nos vemos. Gracias.
Okay. Wailil, where is Wailil? So, shall we close?
Estamos aquí con el padre Rojas.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mensajes sobre lo de Pedro y